let's move along here to a buddy of mine from LA who frequents the best $5 blind game in LA, which is at the Hollywood Park Casino in Inglewood. Joel, you are up next, sir.
Hey, what's happening?
How's it going? Thanks for coming out to the meetup last week. I know you drove out from LA.
Yeah, I had a real good time. I was supposed to meet that guy Cole that I was talking to there at Hollywood Park, but he never showed up.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, as I said, Hollywood Park has really got like the best $5 blind game, I think, in town. Of course, what you have to battle in LA is the high flat drop environment, right? And it's only a $500 cap game, right?
Yes.
But how much do you think that one could make an hour in that game?
Well, I played 4 hours and I walked away up 1,600.
So $400 an hour.
Yeah, that's what you can make. No, I have heard of people making, there are some pros out there and they can usually do about 80 to 75 to 80 bucks an hour.
In the 500 cap game?
Because Bart, there was a hand that was $4,000 that happened behind us.
Well, I mean, here's the thing about win rates in these types of games that I always get this question. By the way, too, Mark Goon, who's one of our content creators, I know he's doing a challenge for his seminar site, Hungry Horse, where he's trying to make over $100 an hour at 5.5 in a $1,000 cap game. And I was like, are you serious? But that's a function of that the double board PLO bomb pots are uncapped, and people play those games so bad at dealer changes. The double board games haven't proliferated into Hollywood Park, have they, in the Hold'em games?
I believe the high area where we used to play this game is now closed off to only PLO, and I think they do play double board bomb pots back there.
No, but I'm saying in this game, do they play any bomb pots?
Oh, no.
I mean, if you want to achieve a win rate, something that's even approaching something like that, you have the more hours you play overall, I would say the less your win rate goes down. Whereas the more hours you play in a session, if you're doing it correctly, the more your win rate goes up towards the end of that session. So if I were to play 20 hours a week in this game, my win rate would definitely be higher than if I was playing 40 hours a week in this game. And that would be because the 20 hours a week that I'm playing, if I were to do it for maximum win rate, would be the absolute best times to play. Whatever that be, weekend nights. Sometimes it's not even weekend nights. I remember playing the 5, 10, 25 game, which is 2,500 cap during the day at Hollywood Park. That was a great game. But I would also extend my sessions outward and make them long when I'm winning and I have a lot of chips in front of me. Because the more chips in front of you, I truly believe this, in a capped game, the higher your win rate will be when you have those chips in front of you. And that's because a tendency for people to kind of stay away from somebody that's winning. And you get to win like more sort of more non-showdown pots. So it's an interesting thing.
Maybe you can play because supposedly you're coming out for a wedding or something like that. Maybe you can squeeze a session in out there.
Yeah, right. I'm going to go away from my wife and my kids to go down to Hollywood Park to play 5-5. I know.
So you have to also hope your plane actually arrives in LA.
Yeah. I tend to doubt that, Joel. But so 500 cap. The other thing too about this game is the preflop raise sizes are so large. The game plays larger than like if someone's opening a 3x, right? It's 25, 30, something like that.
Usually the average raise is $20, and then it can get crazy from there.
All right. So how deep are you here in this hand?
We're 600 effective.
All right. So you're not that deep. 600 effective. Okay.
That's the villain. That's the villain is 600 effective.
And you have them covered. Okay.
So we have a raise from the hijack to 25.
All right. So hijack opens to 25.
We have a call from the button.
Mm-hmm.
And then I look down at 2 black 4s.
In the small blind?
In the small blind.
So 4 spades, 4 clubs in the small blind here. 25 button calls. This is one where, so old school 15, 25, 35 is a very old school concept on Crush Live Poker. I would say maybe somewhat antiquated. Maybe you can raise this up to 20 or 25 times, would say, all right, well, if I'm calling to just set mine here, I need to make 15 times the raise size if I hit my set. And that accounts for whatever. I flop my set 1 out of 8.5 times or whatever it is, and the guy will pay off. Sometimes the guy has kings and you flop ace 4 deuce, you're not going to get all the money. So if you raise that up to 20 times, you can see it starts to get really, really close. And then also, too, you get into a situation where if it's like heads up only, Like, let's say the hijack opened to 25 and the button didn't call. Would you consider just folding away here? What do you do with these small pairs a lot in the blinds? Or are the players just so bad you're always set minding if you're getting the price?
Against this player, I would probably set mind.
Okay, so he's kind of a whaley player.
Yeah.
All right, so does the big blind come in?
Big blind folds.
So here calls, and you guys are off to a pot of probably a little under 70 with the flat drop.
Yeah, it's like 80, and then they take. I just called it 80, but it's 80, right. And then they take like $5 away, and then 1 and 1, or 6 and then 1 later on.
Say like 75. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And then the flop comes out 10 of hearts, 4 of hearts, 3 of clubs.
So you flop middle set.
Yes.
Okay.
So I check. Original razor checks. Big blind bets 50.
The button.
I'm sorry. The button bets 50.
So the hijack checks. The button bets 50 after the hijack checks. Now, what's interesting here is that usually I'm not a big proponent of slow playing in these types of games, and I would never dream of slow playing against a preflop razor that made a continuation bet of 50 into 2 people here. I'd almost always fast play 100% of the time for a number of different reasons. They're not folding over pairs. You have action killing cards that come. Here, though, the preflop razor has actually checked, and the button, who's the field caller, has bet. This is kind of like the opposite way of another thing that we teach on Crush Live Poker, which is attacking the field better with a lot of draws here on a board like this. And it's because, the field better here on the button, he doesn't necessarily have to have 10x here to bet. And also, if he has a 10, there's a fair chance that things might sort of scare him like later on, like overcards and things like that. So you can do actually a lot of check raising from the blinds against field bettors. Like say you had completed in the big blind with like 5-6 of hearts, 5-7 of hearts, something like that. It's a really juicy spot to bluff a field better after the preflop razor has checked. For those same reasons though, you don't want to blow a guy off of a hand like a 10-9 or 9s or something else. So you can kind of see like the consistency and logic where I might call here because I don't want to blow the guy off the pot. It's not the preflop razor that's the guy that's c-betting to 50. Would you have check raised the preflop razor if he bet 50?
Yeah, I was definitely going to do that. But they checked. This guy bet, and I've already seen him slow play kings once in a previous hand, not too long before this one.
The preflop razor, you mean?
No, the button.
Oh, you think the button might have flat with a big pair?
They might flat. This guy slow played kings earlier, and I go, he let out in this. And I was like, okay, could he have a flush draw? He might even have a set of 10s there. Who knows? Because he's not going to 3-bet. He's an older man. Yeah,
but if that's the case, though, if you think that there's a frequency that this guy is like, putting in this type of money because he flats a lot with big pairs, then I might raise here a lot. And if he has a flush draw to get value too.
Yeah. I didn't even, to be honest with you, I didn't even think that. I was kind of surprised that he let out on it like that.
So you called?
I called, and then the original razor calls, the hijack calls.
That's interesting. The reason why I find that interesting is because you don't see a lot of players at this game specifically that check over pairs here. And it's not even necessarily like, this isn't like a board that you're super scared of with like kings or aces. There's theory that goes like you're supposed to check a lot of boards, like in theory and in certain textures. Like if you had kings or aces and the board came out like 7, 8, 9 or, some sort of very, very connected board here, there should never be really 2 pair available. So you wouldn't necessarily see that, but then also too, it's Hollywood Park and you almost never see people check over pairs on flops like that. So that's an interesting overcall there. And he probably would bet off a 10 himself though too, right?
Yeah.
The preflop razor.
Yeah.
All right. So now the pot is what? 225?
Yeah, 225.
Okay.
Okay. And the turn is the ace of spades.
Okay. It's interesting the way that you played this one because you call it kind of as a slow play, but then all of a sudden, I'm sure you're never expecting the hijack really to overcall there all that much.
I was really shocked. I was like, okay, maybe they're on the flush draw and Button has a 10.
But they're on a flush draw and they didn't bet the flop?
OWC is the pre-flop raiser.
I don't know. What does that mean?
Old woman coffee.
Old woman coffee. Oh, okay.
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right, so now what do you do?
I see that and I go, well, if she called and she raised, she's got to have an ace. I check. She bets out 100 and then button calls.
So hero checks, and now the pre-flop raiser who overcalled bets 100, and now the button calls. Is that right? So the pot right now, 100, 200, 3, after you call is 525. How much does the pre-flop raiser have?
The pre-flop raiser has about 425 left.
She's the one that was 600.
She's about 600.
And how much did the button have?
Oh, the button was deep like me. We each started with about 1,100.
So you guys are, okay, so you're 1,100 deep with the button.
Yeah.
But I mean, the button's hand, it seems like you always have the button beat after this action though, right?
That's what I was thinking. Unless he's slow playing pocket tens, a set of tens, then I got to have him beat.
Yeah, but would he bet the flop and then just call when the lady leads here for 100 with a set of tens? I mean, I think at this point, 100 call. I mean, the pot's 525, and I think you have the button beat almost all the time. The lady started with, she only has 425 left. I think I just check raise here to build the pot up. Get called by the nut flush draw. If you get coolered here by 10-10 or the lady didn't bet pocket aces, it is what it is. I'm more concerned about the stack size with the button here. Because if you were heads up with the pre-flop raiser and she only had 425 left, let's say the button was out of there, so say the hijack bet 100 and the button folded. What would you have done here?
I probably would have check raised.
Okay.
Check raised, definitely the original raiser.
So what does it change the fact that the button just calls? Don't you think that skews the button more towards having a draw here?
Yeah, it's Hollywood Park, so it gets kind of confusing sometimes with what the hell these players do. But I was like, that kind of shocked me. I go, well, maybe he's just on the flush draw. Okay. And I'm like, I'm fine with that. Okay.
Yeah, but again, Joel, like if you're gonna check raise heads up against the hijack and you think the button has a flush draw, that's a great situation for me. The concern that I have here again, like if you were super concerned the button had 10-10 and you're trying to protect your stack, okay, but it just doesn't seem like it's all that consistent. My concern here is like there's a bunch of action killing cards. Seems like these people are very, very interested in the pot, and you want to build the pot up with a strong hand to get the money in now. Like if a deuce or a heart comes in or a 5, and somebody happens to have like aces up, or this lady's got ace X of hearts and she's going to give you action, and now you lose the value from that. I'm always want to go for the most amount of value in game setups like this.
Yes, and looking back on it, I was like, yeah, I totally screwed it up. I should have check raised the turn.
So hero calls.
Hero calls.
So pot is now 525.
And the river is the 9 of clubs. So
the river here is the 9 of clubs. And this is exactly what I'm talking. Well, I mean, at least it's a brick, but somebody with like aces up or set of threes isn't going to get, necessarily scared. But it's just awkward here how you play it. Okay, so what did you do now?
I was about to check, and then the lady, she just put in 200.
You didn't even do anything.
I was moving the check and she just goes 200.
Sort of out of turn.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, that's fine. And I'm like, if this guy's on the flush draw, he folds, and I check raise and get the rest of the money in.
So the lady puts out 200. Okay. And now what happens?
And then as I'm getting ready to, get everything ready and, check raise, I see 200 come in from the button. He calls.
So the hijack lady goes 200. The button calls. How do you not have the best hand here against the button, though, as played?
I really, really worried about the button having a set of tens. He's that type of player. And I was like, how can he have a set of tens here?
I mean, at this point, you've got what you want. I mean, I check raise all in here, man. I mean, you're only losing. Are you scared? Are you ever scared that the lady has pocket aces here somehow?
No. Her having pocket aces is not even a thought of mine. I worry more about him slow playing something like pocket tens.
So, but you think that he's such an old man coffee that he might be worried that the lady has pocket aces and is just calling with 10-10 here?
I think he just pretty much slow plays everything. He's not Mr. Raise. He's more pretty much just check call whatever he has all the way down.
Even at the river with the second nuts?
Look at these people are what they are. They're the morning players. This is the morning crowd. You know them.
I mean, man, like I said, like
I think I did give him too much credit. I gave him too much credit.
I mean,
okay?
if I got here like this, I'm just jamming all day long. Like I said, I don't want to put the onus on having an action killing card come out on the river. I probably would have put it in the turn as played. But if you get a brick like this, then the ladies bet like 200 into 525, which isn't that large of a bet. And the button has just called again. The other thing that you can do here too, Joel, is that like, if you think the button is like a guy that just calls down with like, no, he's not a thinking player at all. And you don't want to blow these guys necessarily off like, you know, the pot. Like, you know, if you have a really, really nitty image, you can almost protect yourself with a check raise sizing that sort of moves both ways here. Cause you guys started off with 1100 here where you could make it like 600. Something like that. And if a guy, or 500 to 600, and if a guy on the button, if you think a guy on the button just always calls down with 10-10, he's just gonna call you. He's gonna be scared that you have 5 deuce. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like he's not even gonna shove back. So you kind of get the best of both worlds where you get the call from those non-hand things and you don't lose your stack just once in a while if you happens to have 10-10 here.
Yeah, I even wrote you in the email. This is where I got kind of lost. I just kind of got lost. Like, what's this guy doing in here? What's he betting flop, checking turn, and then just calling a river bet with?
You mean betting flop, just calling hit the turn lead from the preflop raiser?
Yeah. And I was like, what the hell? You know?
So it sounds to me like you just called.
I just ended up calling and I turned over my hand. I go, I have to call. I have a set. The lady immediately just looks at me, rolls her eyes. She throws in ace queen, and then the guy goes, oh, we would have been chopping. He turned over ace queen of hearts.
Ace queen of hearts. So that makes sense. The button has ace queen of hearts, which bets the flop with the nut flush draw, turns an ace. The lady somehow, for whatever reason, check over called here on the ace. And I mean, it's interesting to note, this is again why, because I said, like, I don't think he's got like 10-10 here all that much. And I mean, I guess if you're really concerned that he's sometimes just calls with 10-10, I guess you're thinking that he probably just calls with ace-10 on the turn here too. But that's why I like my raise size here. Maybe you go to like 550 and you might get one call. I don't know what your image is here, but I think you might get one call. It's not necessarily a jam, but it's like to 550.
He was next to me and he goes, you were thinking about raising. And I go, yeah. He goes, you raise, I fold. So really I missed out on the $200 or 200 and whatever she had left.
Well, yeah,
I know.
It hurts, right? It's just like a bad beat. You don't get all the money in certain situations. But yeah, I mean, sometimes you will run into opponents that play hands slow and you value own yourself, but sometimes you're going to value own yourself in games like this.
I have a tendency to bet thin, and here I didn't do it, which is really weird. But like I said, I just kind of like got lost. Like, what's this guy betting with? What's this guy
betting and then just calling with? Well, he had a flush draw.
Yeah, that's just it.
He had a flush draw. He had the nut flush draw. So anyways, I appreciate the call. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Bart.